is up, everybody? Happy Monday. Welcome to another episode of Chart Request Live right here on Stock Market TV. My name is Sam Gatlin. I'm an analyst at All Star Charts, and I am joined by my very esteemed colleague, co-host, and Iraq correspondent today, Mr. Ricardo. Slick Rick is in the house. What's up, Slick Rick?
How's it going, bro? Just enjoying the oil fields in the back, just taking in the nice smell.
Yes.
Burning
This is
oil.
a energy special episode of Chart Request Live. So if you have an energy ticker, drop it in the chat, and we will give that preference over speculative tech or what have you. We want to talk a lot about energy today. So we have a big mailbag to get to. I know there's some energy charts in there. And for those of you that are not familiar with this show, this is where you provide the tickers and we provide the charts. We start off with a mailbag, and you can get your ticker in the mailbag if you email questions@stockmarketmedia.com. And then when we are finished with that, we go over to the YouTube chat. So if you are watching this on Twitter, we will not see your comment. You need to go over to the YouTube chat. I see we already have some action here with Jonathan, Steven. We've got Frey Lee and Wavy and Hanson. What's up, everybody? Thank you for being here.
Let's see
Rick,
if we can get a tip today, bro. We got a
let's
tip
see if
last
we can
time.
get a tip today. Yeah, we got our first tip last week, $10. I feel like an
Let's try and
asshole
beat
for
it.
not remembering the name. I think it was like Builder
It was
1989 or something like that.
it was a cool name.
It was a cool name. Yeah. Shout out to Builder if you're out there. Yes. So if you are
If you're
enjoying
feeling
this
generous,
content we're bringing you, you can leave us a like and subscribe to the channel. That costs you nothing. We also accept tips. Buy us a coffee, buy us a beer, say what's up. All right, Rick, what is on your mind? I have a hard time not starting this show with energy as you are in the oil fields of Iraq.
yes, my friend. Let's take a look at if my chart is live, we can pull up a nice little rate of change. Let's do a single period rate of change on crude oil. And again, the move here has been just insane, incredible. I mean,
Historic.
unprecedented, right? Historic, unprecedented. We can use all manner of adjectives to describe this move. I was looking at a Z-score of the one period rate of change last
Explain to the
night.
folks what a Z-score is, Rick.
So basically, it's going to tell you how many standard deviations it's away from any given mean. Depending on how large or small your data set is, right? You can adjust that. I was
You're
running a
using like a 1 year
250
Z-score?
exactly 1 year Z-score, which I can actually pull up because I just have that saved. Let's see. So black line is a Z-score of a one period rate of change. And right now, I mean, the highest reading you got was 5.5 standard deviations as far as a move in crude oil. This is on a daily. If we do a weekly, it got even crazier. Got up to 7. At one point last night, it was even higher than that because, oil hit, 120
Yeah, it's
almost.
given back a lot. Like, what is that, 16 points there?
I mean, that's an epic sell-off too. I mean, it's almost as incredible as the run-up, but it's percentage points. It's a 20% drop. Which, if we zoom
Nasty.
in, right, we can zoom in a little bit. This is a 5 minute. Let's do a 60-minute, 1 hour chart. Why not? So this was the open last night in the Sunday session, which I guess is an extension of the Monday session in futures. And you already filled that gap pretty much. I mean, not quite. There's a few more points, but you gave most of those gains back. So
Totally.
you're
That'll be a big level for the buyers to defend there.
yeah. What's
All
key
eyes on
though?
$91, it looks like.
Yeah. What's key though, and I know we talked about this last time, and I know we spoke about this at length during some of our analyst meetings, is the confluence of VWAPs anchored to the tops back in. This is post Russia invasion of Ukraine, is when oil peaked out. You had that big run up, then it peaked out. So I just anchored two VWAPs there. And that for so long was your ceiling. You just couldn't get above that level. And if we switch to a daily, you can see it even better. Every time oil ran up to those levels, it was just capped. It capped every single advance. And even last week when you got there, it was like Tuesday, I want to say, that you failed to break above and then you just exploded higher. So I think we're looking at the 75 to 80 range more as a floor these days than a ceiling. I think that's fair to say, my friend. So that's
100%.
something
Yeah.
to keep an eye on as far as pullbacks, just because of how aggressive the move has been. I mean, expect some pullbacks. You already had 20% in a day. I mean, volatility, you can look at the OVX, which I know we spoke about last time. We spoke about this during the gold rush, which was so fun. Just getting to work with you and Jason is lovely. I always learn.
100%. If you guys missed that episode, go to the Stock Market TV archive on YouTube and you can find that episode from last Thursday, Gold Rush Live. And I think Rick is going to be joining us more in the future. So don't miss another episode of Gold Rush Live every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.
I hope so. And listen, like we're looking at the OVX, which is the VIX for oil, right? And obviously the relationship between oil volatility and equity volatility is going to be very different because what drives these assets, like the underlying, is very different. One you could say is earnings growth, margin expansion, whatever. The other one is supply shocks, as we've clearly seen lately. So you're currently at the highest reading since May of 2020 on a closing basis, but also on an intraday basis. You know, you're at your highest level since May of 2020.
Rick, I'm curious, does the rule of 16 apply to the OVX as well? Like, you know, you can divide the VIX by 16 and that gives you the expected one-day move for the S&P 500.
I think that applies to all VIX products.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not a VIX product expert, but we have friends in the industry that are VIX product experts, but I'm certainly not one of them. I look at these products.
So that kind of implies that there's like an expected 7% swing every single day in the crude oil futures based on that 111 handle on the OVX.
Yeah. And even like the VVIX, which is the VIX of the VIX itself. Again, it's
the VIX of the VIX.
We're getting
How many VIXs do we need?
Dude, there's not enough, honestly. There's not enough. There's one for the Dow too. There's one for the NASDAQ. That's the VXN. But this is one for the VIX. And it closed out last week at a pretty elevated level, right, 140. And I want to just do on a closing basis, and I want to overlay S&P because I was giving this some thought, just because I think everyone's starting to get very bearish for good reason, right? The charts are bearish. They have been bearish for some time for certain areas, especially asset managers, software, financials increasingly getting weak. You're starting to see that weakness bleed into the index, which we hadn't seen even a month ago. But just looking at the elevated readings in the VVIX, you could probably throw the VIX here as well, but I was just doing this over the weekend. And they typically coincide, these large spikes, with washouts, both price and in sentiment. They usually also mark bottoms. Again, I'm not calling for a bottom today. That would still be irresponsible, right? That's not what we do. We wait for price to confirm. But just looking at these readings in the VVIX, right, 140, right? The last time you were that elevated was back at the April lows. Before that, it was the August 2024 yen unwind. And you'll see these high readings at these V bottoms, at these washouts, these very fast, very aggressive corrections, right? You saw, like, for example, during an extended bear market, you had the elevated VVIX readings in the beginning, but then it just sort of crushed, remained low. Because once you're in a bear market, you kind of know you're in a bear market, right? But when you're not, you don't know. That's some Dow theory for you. Secondary trend is always the most deceiving.
It is. It absolutely is, Rick. What do you say we move on to the mailbag? We have a lot of tickers to cover today.
Let's do it.
All right. So Steven is the first one in the mailbag. Requested 3 tickers. Rick, I'm going to read them out to you, and you pick one. So the first one is the NESR. That is the National Energy Services. This is a $2 billion energy services stock. Nice chart over longer time frames. Pretty sharp pullback here over the past 2 weeks or so. We also have the SB. That is a, let's see, Safe Bulkers. This is a marine shipping stock with $650 million in market capitalization. Not a bad chart there for the SB. And then the final one is Wolf, WULF.
Okay.
I think we'll,
I think the other,
yeah, skip the Wolf. Pick between the NESR and the SB, Rick.
so yeah, and I also think the Wolf with an O, I think that one got delisted. That was a semiconductor name.
Yes, I'm pretty
Could
sure they
be,
got acquired, if I'm not mistaken, or they went
maybe
bankrupt.
they did. I think they might have
I don't
gone
know.
bankrupt though. But yeah, NESR, I mean, just massive, massive SPAC base. We love to see SPAC bases, IPO bases completing. It's one of the most powerful patterns, especially if the market is in a strong uptrend, right? So you saw that with ESR's, the Nesser's participation. You tagged the first extension level around 22. I mean, we could even draw our base using this high right here. Again, it won't make too much of a difference, but right now, what you're seeing is a little pullback in the
Yeah, what
context.
if you do like a Fibonacci retracement on that uptrend there? So it looks like the low late last year, or that was last spring. Yeah, do that to the high. See like how far this corrective wave could go. I think that is interesting. Looking to buy weakness in the context of a really strong primary uptrend. And it's also, this is energy services. This is one of the strongest industry groups inside of the strongest sectors. So I like buying weakness in areas like that. Of
Okay,
course, I
so
like to
let's,
buy strength too, but
of course,
you know,
naturally, right? That's what we do for the
I
most
like to
part. So
diversify my patterns, Rick.
smart. It's very smart, actually. So let's look at the levels we have. So I anchored a VWAP to the lows last year. What was that? April. Makes sense. And then to the breakout level, like to the actual day of the breakout, to the week of the breakout, which is something that I like to do for massive IPOs, SPACs, or even decade-long basis, GFC basis. I mean, you name it. You got a base breakout, you anchor a VWAP at the breakout level. If you buy the breakout, it runs. That could be a very clean level to define your risk at. Obviously, it's going to depend on how you trade, which systems you run, etc. But we're already below that level. So short term, a lot of short term, right? A lot of downside momentum, right? The selling's been relentless ever since you reached what, 26, 27. You've had nothing but down days, right? Nothing but down days. But you are approaching the first retracement level around 18. And obviously, right, longer term, the big level to watch for any sort of viable pullback. Obviously, if you carve out a little low, you could get a little consolidation pattern going, turns into a continuation pattern. I'd buy that all day, right? As long as it gets above what, 24,
100%.
25.
And like, remember the context of where this stock came from, Rick. Like, what did it hit? A low of 5 last April, and it screamed in a vertical line higher to 25. This
Yeah,
one has earned itself a corrective wave here.
exactly.
But again, I think this is a very viable dip, a 400% move straight higher. Yeah, I think it has earned some
8 straight
consolidation.
months.
Yeah,
Eight
I mean,
straight
what a
months.
beast.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it makes sense you get a little digestion, a little correction sometimes for a higher volatility product such as this. It'll be a little nastier than a correction in something like a Walmart, right? You're already giving back 20% of the gains. So again, just watch your levels closely, keep your risk tight on this one, and watch for a retest of that base, right? We often see a lot of retests of base breakouts, especially in this environment, right? Some environments you just get a breakout, you never see those levels again. But in this environment, we're seeing a lot of retests. A lot of retests.
100%, Rick. All right, Steven, thank you for bringing that one to us. Rick, let's move on to Hassan, who brought ESLT to the Chart Request Live mailbag.
Okay.
This might be the strongest aerospace and defense stock in the world. This one's from Israel, sporting a $43 billion market capitalization. Rick, this one is really going parabolic here.
Almost
Are there
reminds
any?
me of silver.
Yeah, but man, it's better than silver, really.
Never wise to call it top, right?
No.
Never wise. But this advance has been absolutely vertical, I mean, even back in like going back, what, almost year and a half, it's been absolutely vertical. I mean, it's in the context of a structural uptrend going back to, 2000 or even 2012. It's just been a series of consolidations, breakouts, and this advance has been the most aggressive in its history, especially given the size now. You can't compare an advance when the stock was 5 billion to what it is now. What's it at right now, Sam? As
It's
far
at
as
about
market
$43 billion.
exactly. So it's a big
A
boy. I think
PE
monthly,
ratio of 79.
interesting.
No big
So
deal.
it's probably trading more on war than future earnings growth, right? We don't know what the future may hold. Uh, During wartime, it's very difficult. I mean, the Pentagon has guys game theorying out all sorts of scenarios, and we just have price. Right now, price is telling us that this is the strong trend. I mean, there's just no confusing that. Really, you're kind of in a no man's land as far as levels to define your risk at. There's a lot of gaps too, so reminiscent of parabolic advances such as some of the stuff we've seen in the recent years. SMCI comes to mind, maybe something like a MicroStrategy, and I think these might be exhaustion gaps. I don't know if you would agree with that, Sam. Obviously,
Yeah, no, I don't think you're far off there. And, you know,
parabolic trends can continue for longer than anyone can think or stomach, really, right? This can continue up to 80 billion market cap for all I know, but just the structure right now, it's starting to tell me it's a little tired.
totally. And
Honestly.
this thing it's so hard to manage huge winners like this too, Rick. What are you supposed to do, like, as a technician? Just wait for that. Like in Silver's case, it went from 20 to 120 in like a year. And then
Exactly.
you ended up having that 10 standard deviation down day, down, what was it, over 30% in a single session? Like, do you just wait for that? Or, for me, it kind of makes more sense just to kind of scale out over time. Um,
Yeah, that makes the case. Or you have a trailing stop, or you
mhm.
have as Jason has them, the get the GTFO levels, right?
Yes, I love that.
There's plenty of ways you can define the risk, but I'm just highlighting a key level right here around 74. No, not 74, 740. Excuse me, and that's just the latest pivot high, January of that was January of this year. So just if you got to pull back, that level could spark a bounce. But again, just difficult to define your risk if you're not already in this trade.
Absolutely. All right. I think that one came from Hassan. Thank you for bringing that to the show. Next up, we have one from Jonathan. Not sure if this is the same Jonathan we have in the YouTube chat, but shout out to Jonathan if you're out there. Looking at NAT on a weekly chart.
Oh yeah.
Being patient, 7.25 looks like a key level. The volume weighted average price from the all-time high comes in around there, and it's a previous level of support. Says at present, $6 is the first resistance level, and I would start entering, scaling in above there and buy more above 7.25. Says this one has about a 6.5% dividend yield as well, Rick. So NAT. Let's see what this is. This is the Nordic American Tankers. This is a $1.2 billion oil and gas midstream stock. It says it's headquartered in Bermuda. Shout out to Bermuda.
Shout out tax havens. Shout out Bermuda.
Love
But
a
yeah,
good tax haven.
this is again. I mean, you guys mentioned the VWAPs coming in from the all-time high, also the IPO back in 97 coincides with a clean polarity level, which was a previous low back in 14 and 13. And if we do it on a weekly closing basis, right, it eliminates that big spike you had back in 2020. So yeah, I think you could call your level of risk, right, your breakout level, around 725, right, 750. And that's still a ways away from here. Like it's what, a 50% move, something like that, maybe less than that, 35% move. So you're still kind of a ways away from that clean breakout level, right? Where the bulls on every time frame are back in control.
But Rick,
Sure.
this is a tanker stock. I mean, if you could rip through all the tanker charts
Oh
and
yeah,
you'd see these massive bearish to bullish reversal patterns, very similar to what we're looking at here with NAT. They've already resolved higher. FRO is just one example, but we could give you, I don't know how many tanker stocks there are out there, maybe 20. I
yeah.
would
There's
say
probably like 2,000.
75% of those at least have resolved higher, like
Yeah,
the FRO. So, just using that intermarket analysis, if you will, I have a hard time believing that NAT won't break out as well. And like you said, it still has some work to do. I would be surprised if it breaks out, this month or something. Let it dance, let it do its thing. But I like building a position down here in anticipation of it looking more like FRO and TK.
I'm currently in the TK and in the FRO, so I'd like those base breakouts. It's been a strong theme. I mean, I just like the size of the pattern as well. And
100%. Yeah, it's like you can get multi-baggers trading it back to those prior
and the
cycle peaks.
macro backdrop too. I mean, it's been rewarding for these stocks, right, to say the least. So there's big bases, like you said. The intermarket evidence suggests that the stock, the NAT, is going to break out. Right, I wouldn't be surprised if it does. Right, just that level is, you know, that's just such a clean level. You have so much confluence coming in around 750. So I think there's better names in the space. Nothing wrong with
100%.
it.
Yeah, this one's not a
Beautiful.
leader. That's a good point, Rick. The leaders have already broken out.
It's a strong theme, which one of the worst things a trader can do, or not the worst things, right? But one of the most painful things, at least psychologically, is you pick the right theme but the wrong vehicle. And it's
Yeah.
happened to me so many times. It's happened to everyone, right? And it's just one of those
This one
situations.
does have a higher dividend yield than some of its peers, though, Rick. I wonder if you look at this one in look at the total return chart, if it looks more like the FRO.
A
Can you
little
do
bit,
that on the
yeah.
trading view? Is that an option?
Um, like the dividend adjusted, yeah. This is
Yeah.
the dividend adjusted NAT highest
See, this
level
is a
since
different picture here.
2016. Yeah, now I'm curious to see if these are regular or irregular dividends. So a lot of times these kinds of stocks will have irregular divvies. Um, let's see. So at some points it gets up to like the 30s, right? 30s.
What is going on with this?
This is just the dividend yield plotted out. So it's might not be one of those regular divvies that you get in like a staple stock, but when things are going well, you
Yeah.
get a pretty fat divvy in a lot of these tankers, man. That's for sure. And the E and the what's it called? The B wet. Oh man, what a chart that was. Let's see.
Yeah, talk about parabolic advances.
Incredible, man. Absolutely incredible. But I think that's enough of tankers.
Let's move on to
Great chart though.
David. Shout out to Jonathan for bringing that one along. I love talking about marine shippers and tankers. David wants to look at IPI. We've got
Intrepid
several
Potash.
tickers
Love
here
it.
from David. So IPI, I know you are a big IPI guy, Rick. Let's see. BAK is another one, and
Brascam.
IHS. We've got IPI, BAK, IHS. Pick one of
Let's
those.
rip them. Let's rip them. So the IPI Intrepid Potash, so fertilizers, it's going to trade a lot with natural gas. It's actually one of the best ways to play big spikes in natural gas. Better than a lot of the energy names too. I mean, you can see the ebbs and flows of the IPI, very similar to that of natural gas. And this is just looking at the front month, natty gas.
Interesting to
Which,
see. Natural gas is getting the shit kicked out of it, but this one's
yes, it
breaking
is.
out to new highs.
Yes, it is. I mean, but also natural gas elsewhere, right? In Europe, looks a little different than natural gas in America. So there's that component there.
Really interesting COT there for the natural gas as well. We include the COT table every Friday in the Commodities Weekly column, so you can see that for free on the All Star Charts blog every Friday. And the commercial hedgers are carrying their largest net long position in the natural gas in many, many years. I
I
like it.
mean, we love extremes, don't we? We absolutely love extremes, especially when they haven't triggered anything yet, right? Some of the best trades come from mispositioning. Let's see. Say you just have this massive base going back to that big spike you had in 22. That was the post-Russia invasion of Ukraine. It was a time in the market which, interestingly enough, only energy and fertilizers, some of the ags were working. It was a very particular environment that I remember fondly, and oftentimes not as fondly. But going back to the IPI, above what, 37.25, 37 and a quarter. That's the level, right? That's what capped the advance back in May of last year. I think that's your level. You can also play it against 42. I think your next level, you're looking at 58, 82, 122. I think that's the road back to 122.
Huge potential upside there. All
Yeah,
right,
and
Rick. How about the
these
BAK?
commodity stocks. I mean, you can tell them more about this, Sam. These commodity stocks, they don't compound in the ways a software or a semiconductor stock do. They're basically levered to the price of a sideways market, which like grains or energy or whatever other underlying commodity. So when they trend very aggressively.
Totally.
Both
Yeah, they
up
go up
and
10x and
down.
then they crash 90% over and over and over
Exactly.
again. It's beautiful.
Let's look at the Brascam. I bought this one last week just because of the relative strength. I've been eyeing it for a while. It's a
I love
Brazilian.
how much we've been talking your bag today.
Dude, I know. Um, this is Brazilian chemical stock, a little bit of fertilizer. They also have some plants in Mexico, if I'm not mistaken. But you can just see how smoothly this trends, both up and down, up and down. I mean, again, levered to whatever commodity is underlying. But with the Brascam, let's anchor some VWAPs and see what levels come up. Because right now you're getting a rock bottom entry. I think that's what you're looking at right now. You had a huge spike last week. That was starting Tuesday. You ran up almost 50 some percent. It's a pretty big spike. But again, you have to remember this is a $5 stock. So you can expect moves like this to come. They're pretty common, right?
Yeah, almost
It's a very
to $1 billion
volatile
market
stock.
capitalization, Rick. Currently at about $830 million.
I love it. I love that. Absolutely love that, man. I think there's a key level around here. I mean, I know there's a key level around 420 because the market's told us that there's sellers at this level. You broke above it. We're looking at, the initial deep. This is probably the deepest base, right? The most rock bottom you can get as far as an entry in a name like this in a commodity super cycle. Yeah, again, against 420, I think the next key level you're looking at is $7, which is the 2021 high anchored VWAP, right? Above that level, I mean, I think that's the next level to define risk at. Right? It'll probably also coincide with the shelf of lows right here, right?
Yeah, good call out there.
So I think against 420, kind of in the middle of the range right now, but against 420 gets you to $7,
Yeah,
and then you reassess, right? Because there used to be buyers at this level, then there started to be sellers at this level, and it's also the average price since the peak in 2021. So I think this one's clean. It either works or it doesn't. Pretty fast moving stock and a pretty hot theme. It's probably going to get even hotter. So yeah, great name.
awesome. And let's move on to Hansen. Looking at AGX with a 3-month time frame. AGX is, I believe that is
It's
healthcare.
pharma.
No, that is
Yeah.
engineering and construction.
Oh,
AGX is a $6.2 billion engineering and construction stock.
yeah. I can't say I'm familiar with this
Power
name.
industry services, telecommunication services.
Interesting.
Yeah. This one's
Wait,
from
so what
Arlington,
happens if
Virginia.
we, it's up 8% today. What happens if we overlay this with a GE Vernova, for example? Will they lose
Yeah.
some?
Is this like an AI industrial?
I think it might be. Brother. Look at this chart. I mean,
Yeah,
Make
twins.
this a different. Let's make this a different color, because I recognize the structure somewhat, but I know I haven't seen this name, or at least I don't remember this name. So very similar structure to the GE Vernova. So it's probably going to be a similar trade. Again, just here speaking from ignorance, and even something like a Siemens Energy. That's the German GE Vernova. Again, so similar structure there, similar
Yeah.
base and pattern, similar time to break out, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, this has been one of the strongest themes: energy infrastructure, energy storage, energy distribution, and not energy in the oil and gas sense, energy in the data center, uh, energy plant, utility sense. Let's see. Let's just drop some fibs. Beautiful.
Yeah, that 420 looks like a clean level.
That
Again,
does
Hansen said
20.
looking to trade it with a 3 month time frame. So yeah, 420 to 670 or so. That looks like the move to me. What do you think, Rick?
You nailed it. I think 420 to 670 is perfectly fine. You're right there. I mean, you're at 447, right, on an 8% up day. You're right there. I mean, the relative strength here is absolutely outstanding too. Let's look at a AGX versus, excuse me, AGX versus S&P chart. I mean, pretty close to making new all-time highs too, right? So you're making all-time highs on a relative basis and on an absolute basis. What's there not to love, right? Against 420, I think you nailed it, Sam. 670 is the next level.
I love it. Shout out Hansen. Thank you for bringing this one along. A new name for Rick and I. We cover a lot of these, AI industrials, AI energy stocks, but AGX is not one that has been on my radar. So thank you
Yeah,
for bringing that along. And that is one of my favorite things about doing this show, Rick, is you find new names like that.
get some
Um,
good stuff, man. Get some
absolutely.
beautiful stuff.
Absolutely. I love the show. Humberto wanting to look at EC. I'm not really sure how you say this. EC.
Ecopetrol,
Yeah. Yeah.
Colombian oil stock. And we,
Colombian energy stock, he says.
okay. Oh, Jesus. You know what? I have to apologize. I have to go back to AGX because this chart is adjusted for dividends. I never unadjusted it. Oh man, what a doozy, man. It was still adjusting for the total return from the Nat chart. Man, I'm glad I caught that. See, because I looked at that EC chart and I'm like, man, that chart does not look like that. Okay, so it changes things for the, and I apologize for that. That's amateur hour, right? AGX. So I guess your level is 350 now. Target 550. So very different than 426.70. I apologize for that again. But still, you're kind of in a no man's land. So I guess you wait for it pull back to 350, or you wait for the breakout above 550, targeting 875, 900.
Yeah,
Man,
I also kind of like defining risk against that shelf of former highs from like
oh yeah,
November,
you do that.
going back to January. That kind of turned into support. You're ripping off of that level today. That seems like a clean play to me.
Yeah,
So
400.
that comes in right around like 400. So
Yeah,
400 to 550. Not a bad trade there.
that's a great level, Sam. Man, I'm so embarrassed. Imagine if we finished off the session. I didn't even notice that my chart wasn't just price, right? The fact that it was still adjusted. Man, that would have been pretty embarrassing. Probably
Let
wouldn't
him
have gotten
hear it in the chat. Amateur hour here.
amateur
Let him
hour,
hear
man.
it.
I'm not gonna
All
get my
right,
chart.
Rick. Let's move on to EC. This one comes from Humberto. EC is, as you mentioned earlier, a Colombian energy stock with about a $26.5 billion market capitalization.
Yeah, it also pays one of those fat, irregular divvies, currently averaging around almost 8%. So that's a pretty fatty divvy right there. But again, you anchor VWAPs to the IPO, to the all-time high, into the 2018 high. You're coiling, right? Let's just delete these two for a second. You're coiling against the 2018 high anchored VWAP, right? That's a key level. It's capped advances ever since, right? You have that continuation structure. You also have that downtrend line. We could draw the level at 1180, 11 three quarters, but also 13, right? So you can buy dips against 12, 1175, or a breakout above these highs around 13 and a quarter. I think that's a key level. Also coincides with this shelf of highs from back in 2023. And as far as targets, my friend, I think you target this high around 20, and further, you can target this high around 28 as well. I think that's a pretty clean chart.
Totally, yeah. And this is one of those names that you can hold for like an entire energy cycle too, Rick. Tremendous upside potential and that huge dividend. You get paid to just sit here on your hands and ride it
Yeah,
for
I mean,
nearly a triple.
that's a great point. I mean, just what's your time frame? Right? That's a great point, Sam. Also, if energy keeps working, if Latin America picks back up, a lot of ifs, right? This could be a pretty big winner. So keep it on your radar. This is a great name.
Yeah, shout out Humberto for bringing that one along. Let's move on to Chris, who wants to look at Zeta, Zeta. This
Zeta.
is Zeta Global Holdings. This is a software stock with a $4.6 billion market capitalization, and it has about 12% short interest as well, Rick. So some squeeze potential here as it's scooping and scoring back above the December lows.
No, it's a great call out. I mean, again, this looks a lot better than a lot of software stocks, my friend. So I think that's information in and of itself. The fact that this looks just so much better than a lot of its peers, just purely from an industry group perspective. I don't know exactly what their business model looks like, but you have two key levels coming in from the IPO VWAP around 17, and one from the all-time high anchor VWAP around, let's see, what is this? 18. So pretty similar zone. They're kind of, the confluence comes in around 1750, 17 three quarters. As long as you're above that, it has squeeze potential, especially if the broader software space prints a bottom or continues to develop a bottom or just rips higher. I think this could be a big winner. The names that hold the best through a corrective wave often lead to the upside once it's over. So let's see, 18 three quarters gets you,
a spicy double.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a double right there. That's a double. How many days to cover?
It has three days to cover, 12% short interest.
That's enough to get it started.
Totally, yeah. This is looking nice. And software just keeps catching a bid. You look at the IGV. What is that doing today? I assume it's up with Bitcoin up about 4%. IGV is actually down today. That's a shocker. After a huge ripper off that, what day was that? February 23rd low. I mean, you've seen a hell of a move higher in the IGV.
Yeah.
Really impressive.
That's a clean level, man. I mean, technical analysis isn't perfect. If not, we'd be quintillionaires.
Yeah.
But it's a great framework, and this level right here, I remember every technician I follow, every technician I talk to, a lot of the guys we work with, we were all watching these levels in the XSW and in the IGB. I know Steve had some big winners off of those levels. And again, it goes to show it's a level that the market's proved time again is important because there's buyers at that level for whatever reason. So let's see if the bounce continues, right? If it's not just the dead cat bounce, it has potential. It's got to prove itself.
Totally, sure. Rick. All right. Last request here from the mailbag. This one comes from Salem. Has 3 tickers here. I want you to pick one. PSTG is the first one. PSTG.
Short storage.
That is PSTG is Everpure.
It's not pure storage.
It's $20 billion computer hardware. Not a great chart there. Next one is Boeing. Also not a great chart. One of the biggest laggards in the market for quite some time. Boeing, what a disaster. How is that one still in the Dow Jones Industrial Average also? Salem also wants to look at the TAN, the solar ETF. That's really been a standout for me, Rick. I cover a lot of earnings reactions. I follow them very, very closely. And one thing I've noticed about the solar industry is that virtually every stock that comes out and reports earnings gets absolutely blasted. I mean, the First Solar, the FSLR, this is the largest in the industry. And this one has a $20 billion market capitalization. And when it came out and reported earnings, it fell about 14%, just in a straight line lower, and has continued to drift lower since then. So, it seems like the market really doesn't like what's happening here in the solar industry, and you're seeing that confirmation.
I think you already chosen which chart we're going to look at, my friend. So I'll respect that. Let's look at the TAN. And for a while, this was the only broad speculative theme that was working consistently, right? But like you said, a lot of these big stocks in the space, a lot of the bellwethers are breaking down from continuation patterns or failing to break out of big bases like the First Solar. I mean, you have this multi-cycle uptrend line in the TAN. I'm sure people have seen that. I mean, it's a pretty common chart, at least I feel like, on Twitter. But we have that VWAP anchored to the January of 2021 highs in the TAN, coming in at around 64. So you never even got to it. Obviously, volume on ETFs, a little different than volume on a stock, especially if something's, it's not super liquid ETF. But I didn't want to say the run. That's when we expect it to break higher, because it was in that VWAP inch pattern that we like so much.
This is what I'm talking about, Rick. Complete disaster after earnings.
Yeah,
and you've seen that drift lower still. I mean,
yes.
You've had one update since that terrible, awful, no good, very bad earnings reaction.
Yeah, and listen, I was playing this to the upside. Me and a few of the other guys. It was just such a clean pattern. It's the type of pattern where you see it, you have to play it. Right? If there's options for it, you might get a big winner pretty quickly. But it had that earnings catalyst. Obviously, the market did not like whatever they said, whatever they showed, whatever they projected. So traded lower. It was some 35% move.
Disgusting.
Pretty big. Yeah, doesn't look too good, man. And the First Solar, I remember trying to jump the breakout earlier this year, just on a monthly basis. This is a massive base. I know you've highlighted this in the past for Commodities Weekly, so no use in talking too much about the size of this base. But man, I thought I could probably jump it, and then Jeffries came out with a downgrade. And the stock, when stocks dump 10% on a downgrade, I don't usually pay too much attention to what the analysts, the sell side, is saying. But when a stock reacts to a re-rating, that gives you information, right? Because it's real buyers, real sellers, especially if that move isn't amended in the following session. Because sometimes you have that knee jerk, and then it gets repaired either to the upside or the downside in like the following 2-3 sessions. But you just didn't see it in the First Solar. Pretty unfortunate for my P&L that week, but that's why we have stop losses, right?
Totally, Rick. We would be broke without stop losses, no doubt about that.
100%.
So that was it for the mailbag, Rick. We have a lot here in the chat. I see everybody here. Billy Hawk says, Ricardo, great backdrop, but it looks like your hair is on fire. Very nice. We have, let's see, quite a few here. I see all of you there, but man, Brad Villa, the latest chat here, AMPX. This is one of my personal favorite setups in the market. But Rick, here's the thing. Here's my hesitation with a chart like this. Is it just too good to be true? I mean, it feels like most of 2026, the best charts out there have just failed to break out and follow through to the upside, unless you're looking at something like energy, of course. But like this is more of like a speculative tech stock. I think they do like battery technology or something like that. But man, beautiful base here. I think this one just reported earnings and had a sweet positive reaction.
No, I didn't have this on my radar, which is weird. I have a pretty big battery list.
Oh yeah, this is one I've been watching every single day for the past few trading sessions since it had that earnings reaction back on March 5th, where it gapped above a key level, about closed the day about 19% higher.
Wow. No, this is, I mean, again, just looking purely at price, this is a beautiful chart. I mean, I think
this is the chart of the day right here. This is amazing. But is it too good to be true, Rick? That is my hesitation with a chart like this. I mean, breakouts have not been working.
That's a great point. That's great intermarket sentiment analysis, Sam. I'm torn, man, because I have a bullish bias. I want to buy these charts. I want the market to continue higher, but we have to see it, right? I mean, the dips keep being bought, but how strong are the buyers relative to the sellers?
Well, another interesting nuance with this one, Rick, is we've included this in the freshly squeezed not long ago, because this one has currently a 15% short interest and a 2x days to cover ratio. So a lot of squeeze potential here as it's breaking out its new all-time highs. You know, every single short seller is now underwater. So huge squeeze potential here. If you can stick this breakout, I think this one could really be one of the biggest winners in the market if the broader market can stabilize and find its footing here. But you know, if that doesn't happen, I have a hard time believing this is going to hold. This one could easily get slammed and honestly just get cut in half, right back down to that $8 level you have highlighted there.
It could. Yeah, it's important to note how volatile this instrument is. So yeah, 13 was the breakout level. Just looking at a daily closing line chart, 13 was the breakout level because you have those big spikes around the IPO. Was this a SPAC? This looks like an IPO? Maybe, I don't know. Again, whatever the initial initial offering was, had that big spike in volatility. So I mean, you'd be looking at an entry around 25, but there really wasn't any transaction at that level, right? It was just that first day. So looking at the daily close above 13, man, it's a clean level. Why not? You know, you define your risk against 13 or maybe even against these highs around 1450, right? If you want to play it a little tighter. Again, this is a volatile instrument, so playing something like this with a tight stop might not be the wisest move, but again, to each their own. Just walking you through my chart, Sam, through my thoughts. So yeah, 1450 is a clean level.
I like trading it back to that, like whatever it was, IPO, SPAC, high. Really clean there.
Yeah, it's a big move. This is a beautiful chart, man. I'm surprised it looks so good. I mean, it just probably speaks to how something they're doing or, big disagreement.
Well, this breakout is coming on the heels of that earnings report too, Rick. So I love that. It's being fueled by a fundamental catalyst.
Yeah, man.
Those are my favorites.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I love buying breakouts on earnings gap and go. I mean, look at NVIDIA as like the classic example of that. I think it was like May of 2023 when it had that initial huge earnings reaction. Everybody was like, holy shit, NVIDIA. Yeah. They're doing crazy things. And then sure enough, NVIDIA became a $5 trillion stock, the world's largest market capitalization. I mean, that's what happens when you get huge gap and go moves on earnings. And that's exactly what happened with AMPX.
Yeah, I think
I'm not saying it's going to be the next NVIDIA, but
I'm going to add it to my watch list. And I mean, I was going to say just the price and the structure reminds me a little bit of this Kyndryl Holdings software name.
Massive run up. 100%.
Again, on a closing basis too, because you had that big spike in the IPO. Then on a closing basis, he got right there, was 40, and then he just sold off after that. Again, different business models, different stocks, but just looking at the price structure, it just somehow it just reminded me of that name.
But this one's breaking out.
But this
Kyndryl
one's
broke
breaking out.
down.
This one looks a whole lot better. I
Yeah.
love it.
All right, Brad Villa, you win chart of the day.
Yeah.
We need to start sending out awards. Send our our community a gold star, or we need to come up with something better than that. Chart of the day, Brad Villa. Shout out to you, everybody. Thank you for being here for another episode of Chart Request Live. Brad, it looks like Rick has highlighted like 14.5 as that key threshold to hold.
1450 or 13. I mean,
Yeah,
depends on it's your call, it's your money.
100%. Everybody, Jay, Brad, absolute beginner in the house. We've got Billy Hawk cracking jokes. Everybody, thank you for being here. If we did not get to your ticker in the YouTube chat, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at email questions@stockmarketmedia.com, and we'll put your ticker in the mailbag for the next episode of Chart Request Live right here on Stock Market TV next Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, try to have a good week out there, and I'm going to go buy some energy stocks. Let's go.
Big mailbag. We appreciate a big mailbag.
Yes. All right, everybody. We'll catch you later.